for bad leadership. Many projects couldn't have failed. Projects that you are not seeing, some of them they have commissioned them, some of them they have issued that they should do it, but because of lack of monitoring, there is one thing for me to sign out that go and do this thing. It's another thing for me to question all the person accountable that what did you what do it, and have some people assess what he has done. So we must monitor again. Now that we have done it, we have listed for all the employee, use face shield, use this, we are want to use grinding machine. Do we sit back and assume that we will use it? When they are now working with grinding machine, what do? You send the safety what officer will now check him up from head to the okay, he's actually what using it. Now that they have been using it again, we look at first or 2 years. Was there any incident of what somebody being injured in the course of using grinding machine? That is called review. Review now means that probably what you have set as actions are not what effective. We can now say, oh, let's add more. Maybe we should be using this or be using that. Do you understand? So let's go now. Risk management entails what? Identification of what? Hazards. Assessment of the what? Hazard. That's the qualitative and what? Quantitative assessments. Taking actions, precautions. Then monitoring and what? And review. Do we get that? Do we get that? Yes. Okay. I move on. Now, under risk analysis, you know we talk about risk communication. What is risk communication? As you are carrying out assessing the risk, either the risk assessor or the risk manager that is carrying it out, the employee that are actually what? That are going to be affected by the risk that you are doing or by the policy that you are going to draft, they should be carried along also. So you must exchange what? Information. The person that is assessing the risk, the assessor must be able to communicate with what? The risk manager. This is what I find out. This is what I discover. Okay, you reach out to the what? Employee. Maybe people that are even using the machine, that you know that what? They are open to that risk. We discover that this thing. Is there any other thing that you think that can harm you? Why is it? Oh God, this thing normally make noise when I'm using it. You factor that one also in. That is what you are going to collate before you now draft what we call final what? Policy or your decision. Okay? So we talk about requirement. What do you require to carry out risk assessment? Who is that man that said he needs emphasis on risk assessment here? Risk. Are you flowing with me? Okay. We have to have some clear definition of terms. There must be risk questions that will form. There must be hazard identification. I've talked about that. There must be qualitative risk assessment. I've talked about that. The only one I've not mentioned is this risk what? Question. How do you form your risk what? Question. Framing the risk question, identification, I've talked about all this. But how do you form your risk question? The risk question would be that we want to know what is the specific hazard of concern. That's the risk question. What is the specific hazard? Don't forget, I said we have 5 types of what? Hazard. Can we measure them? Physical, chemical, biological, psychological, and what? Ergonomic. So now this is a machine. What is the kind of hazard that is of concern to us? Is it the physical? If there is what? Chemical being used by that machine, we factor in what the chemical can also do. So we first check. We ask ourselves that question. What are the vector? When I say vector, what are the channels? What are the vehicle that is carrying the hazard along? Is it that it's the wind that can blow it? Is it by the sweat that the person can contact it? Is it by the touch on the skin? We must ask ourselves. So we know that what we are telling people is that what? Please don't let this chemical touch your what? Skin. If it doesn't touch your skin, you are safe. That's the same thing they did for what? COVID-19. Make sure you give what? 6 feet what? Gap to the person standing around you. What specific risk do we want to what? Assess? What is the risk? I told you. When we have what? Knife, we said what? It can cut, Abi. Is that not? How come we know that there's possibility of physical hazard with this thing? There's possibility of chemical hazard. There's possibility of biological hazard. What kind of physical hazard? Is it cut? Now we are talking about the risk. It can cut you. This machine can cut you. Take for instance, if you recall or you are familiar with what I want to say. It's because you mentioned guard, because I want to make emphasis on it. These people that normally trim books, books, if you are familiar with these people that work in this Shomolu, the machine they used to use in those days are such that they can operate with one hand. What happened? You see somebody that is operating the machine, forgetting, because they have to set the book. He will forget the other hand inside the blade. In those days, they have a lot of people that chop their what, and you know, if you have seen it before, it's just like that thing will cut bundle of book as if it's cutting, as if you just want to cut paper. So if the hand is there, it's just effortlessly, you will have it separated. The hand will be inside and you'll be able to remove the rest. So they have to improve on the machine that for you to operate it, there are two gears. One must be held by this hand, the other one by this hand. If you see the way they operate it now, it cannot, the two hands, they kept them busy before you can. Okay. Of course. Okay. Please, if you have announced before that, if you are not opportune for the physical class, you can put it from online. Please don't deprive yourself, because everybody in Nigeria now, they are protecting their job, Abi. So if you have a job that you have to protect, don't say because of training. If you know that you have to go to work, we can still give you room online. You understand? And I can assure you, people that will do the online, of course, I wish some of them will be able to actually, of course, some of them will also make comments. You are going to have the best time. You are going to have the best time, because we are not going to rush you. It's a self-paced training. You are the one that will give yourself the pace of your studies, okay? And of course, what is the time now? Is what? 5 minutes to 1. When is Jumat? Jumat is when? Is it 2? It's 1:30. You can go by 1:30 and have your prayer happy. So how many minutes should we give the Muslims among us? 30 minutes. Why don't we allow you to go when it is certain that you reach there, you pray, you come? When is the time? I think you are praying inside Yabatek now. Yabatek Mosque. When is the time? Okay, can you go by 2? Is it not late by 2? 1:45 and by okay, when is time? When is 1:45? That means I have just 5 minutes to run through something. So if you have to report to work, just make sure that you see Mr. Kenny before you leave. Also, let him note that you partially engage in the physical class and then you are excusing yourself, so you can have that covered. Thank you. So what particular time frame are we interested in is also important. Have I explained that? That is, how long are we talking about the person being exposed to the what? Risk. That's the time. So let's know this. In the eventual effect of an hazard, it is good to know if the consequences can be what? Reduced, and what recovery measures will be needed. So you have to put in check the recovery measure. Let's say this thing eventually happen. How can we help the person that gets involved in it to be what? To recover from it? Are we together? Okay. Mr. Kenny. Okay. I will need safety song. So before some people that want to leave, let's share the safety anthem. Let's have the safety anthem first. Our company have a specially composed safety anthem that we know.
Someone is asking how they can join the online class. Maybe tell them.
The online class will be open tonight. Okay, you will have the announcement on the main group. We just want to do the head counts. You know, some people like to eat their cake and have it, right? We don't want to just have physical class and then you want to go and book for online also. Okay, so Tonight, we are going to form a group for them where we are going to guide them on how to do the online. And please, I know we have the buga in the house, people with iPhone 14 abi. Our iPhone app is not launched yet. You only have the Android. So you go on Play Store. But for people that are doing online and they still have what? iOS, we can also do live training for them. We use Google Meet to train them live. So I'll just sit at my comfort zone, maybe in my house, and then you come on, and then I deliver the training. So you can also do that. So we have different means. You can't miss the training, except that you don't want to be trained. And if you are not trained, of course, you can't be certified. So you have to do the training. Just let us know let's know your constraints. I don't have Android, I use iOS, no problem. We'll still train you. At least you can go on Google Meet. And you can go on Zoom, right? But Google Meet can still manage your data than Zoom. So that's why we use Google Meet. We are dealing with students. I don't want you to come and tear me apart. So we take the safety anthem. Okay. Of course, you must have heard my voice that if you are going to people that are in church choir, if they are going to categorize my voice, they will say general voice.